Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. On behalf of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Syed Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed shall lead the Sultanate's delegation to the 38th summit of the leaders of Gulf Cooperation Council countries in Kuwait. The foreign ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries hold a preparatory meeting in Kuwait ahead of the 38th GCC summit. And the UN calls for a ceasefire in Yemen in light of an ongoing humanitarian crisis. On behalf of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Syed Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the Council of Ministers, will leave the Sultanate tomorrow for the State of Kuwait to head the Sultanate's delegation to the 38th summit of Their Majesties and Highnesses, the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, due to be held in Kuwait on Tuesday and Wednesday, 5th and 6th of December 2017. This participation stems from the Sultanate's belief, under the leadership of His Majesty the Sultan, on the importance of meetings that gather brothers to discuss all matters which contribute in enhancing the cooperation march and fulfilling further hopes and aspirations of the GCC people. His Highness is accompanied by an official delegation comprising His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Fitaizi, Minister of Transport and Communications, His Excellency Dr. Abdullah bin Mohammed Al-Saeedi, Minister of Legal Affairs, and a number of government officials. Their Excellencies, the Foreign Ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, held a preparatory meeting in Kuwait ahead of the 38th summit of the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, due to be held tomorrow. Their Excellencies will discuss a number of topics related to enhancing cooperation between GCC countries, as well as achieving prosperity and reviewing regional and international issues. The Sultanate's delegation was headed by His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Gutteres called for a ceasefire in Yemen in light of an ongoing humanitarian crisis. Gutteres calls on all parties to the conflict to cease all air and ground assaults and is deeply concerned about the sharp escalation of armed clashes over the past several days. Ambulances and medical teams cannot access the injured, and people cannot go outside to buy food and other necessities. He added that aid workers are unable to travel and implement critical life-saving programs at a time when millions of Yemenis rely on assistance to survive, reiterating calls for the Arab-led alliance to end their blockade of the country. A wave of Syrian airstrikes killed at least 25 civilians and wounded dozens across the besieged rebel enclave of eastern Ghouta near Damascus. The deadliest raids hit the town of Hamouraya, killing 17 civilians, including 6 children. Other airstrikes on the towns of Arbin, Beit Sawa, Harasta and Misraba killed 8 civilians. At least 75 people were wounded, and the death toll is likely to rise given the critical wounds suffered by dozens of people. Eastern Ghouta, one of the last remaining rebel strongholds in Syria, has been under a heavy government siege since 2013 that has caused drastic food and medical shortages. South Korea and the United States launched large-scale joint aerial drills today, a week after North Korea said it had tested its most advanced missile as part of a weapons program that has raised global tensions. The annual US-South Korean drill, called Vigilant Ace, will run until Friday, with 6 F-22 Raptor stealth fighters to be deployed among the more than 230 aircraft taking part. The exercises have been condemned as a provocation by the isolated North. A South Korean Defense Ministry spokesman said that the joint exercise is conducted to enhance South Korea and the US Air Force's combined wartime operations capabilities. The drills come a week after North Korea said it had tested its most advanced intercontinental ballistic missile ever in defiance of international sanctions and condemnation. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met Chinese Premier Li Keqiang today at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Trudeau was accompanied by 4 cabinet ministers and, along with Keqiang, oversaw the signing of 3 documents related to trade in food products, energy cooperation and education. Trudeau, at a joint news conference with Keqiang, said they believe a trade agreement will benefit both countries, creating jobs, strengthening the middle class and growing their economies. The Chinese Premier said he was open to talks regarding a free trade agreement. Trudeau will meet with President Xi Jinping tomorrow. The lawyers for Catalan ex-president Carles Puigdemont and 4 of his separatist allies said that the 5 will be judged on whether they can be extradited from Belgium to Spain on December 14th, exactly 1 week before a key regional election in Catalonia in which they are all running for re-election. The group is refusing to return to Spain to face rebellion, sedition and embezzlement charges that can be punished with decades in prison under the country's criminal laws. Puigdemont's defence lawyer said today that the prosecutor sought the extradition of the 5, but the lawyer insisted that the Spanish charges are not punishable in Belgium and thus there were no grounds for extradition. Beirut is once again hosting the International Arab Book Fair, one of the largest for the publishing industry in the Middle East. It's an event with a real pedigree. Now in its 61st edition, it has run every year since its inception. Not even the civil war of the 1980s put a stop to this haven for book lovers. Thousands of people meander past metre after metre of bookshelves, browsing the latest releases. Organisers estimate that around 200,000 people visit the fair each year. 225 publishing houses from across the Arab world are displaying their titles this year, presenting their authors to the public and meeting business partners. There is more to do than just buy books. Writers are here to sign their latest titles and talk about them with the audience. Dozens of events, debates and meetings with the authors take place every day. The 61st International Arab Book Fair lasts until 13th of December. Still to come in our news bulletin. A popular spot for viewing cherry blossoms each spring in Tokyo's park is now transformed by pink LED lights resembling the pretty flowers ahead of the Christmas season. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Central Bank of Oman stressed that the cash position of the Sultanate is good and stable. His Excellency Taha bin Salam Al Amri, CEO of the Central Bank of Oman, pointed out that the bank focused on the current and future period, supporting the cash reserve and reviewing new and innovative ideas to face future challenges. His Excellency also stressed on the necessity of enhancing cooperation in the coming period between the bank and financial institutions working in the country in order to uplift and progress the performance of this sector. Sohar Airport in the previous 4 months witnessed the handling of more than 74,000 passengers through 568 flights. Meanwhile, Al Duqm Airport witnessed 408 domestic flights during the past 10 months operated by Oman Air, which recorded an increase of 20% and carried more than 27,000 passengers with an increase of 32%. On the occasion of the glorious 47th National Day, the Plenipotentiary Abdullah bin Hamid al-Shamsi, Acting Consul General in Karachi, Pakistan, held a reception ceremony. The ceremony was attended by His Excellency, the Minister of Information for the Sindh Province, and a number of officials from Arab and foreign country missions, in addition to senior officials of the Pakistani government and a number of media personalities. The ninth five-year plan, with its implementation programme, focuses on the partnership between public and private sectors to fulfil its targeted projects in transformative industries, including tourism, mining, logistics services and fisheries wealth sectors, worth approximately 41 billion Omani riyals, and gives 80% of those projects to the private sector. It also seeks to enhance foreign investment in the Sultanate, which currently exceeds 14 billion Omani riyals in fields related to financial brokerage, oil and gas extraction, transformative industries, commerce, establishments and real estate sectors, including electricity, water, hotel and restaurant sectors. As the Sultanate heads towards the future, it continues efforts to diversify income means, develop the national economy and expand foreign investments in a way that integrates domestic investments within the framework of regional and international partnerships, as well as the agreements of economic and technical cooperation with a number of brotherly and friendly countries. Tokyo's park along Meguro River, a popular spot for viewing cherry blossoms each spring, is now transformed by pink LED lights hanging from the trees, resembling the pretty flowers ahead of the Christmas season. The more than 420,000 lights on the 2.2-kilometre street are powered by cooking oil from local restaurants and residents from the neighbourhood. The illumination project, called Mina no Illumination or Illumination for All, marks its 7th year since it began in 2011, when Japan suffered from an electricity shortage triggered by the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Each year, approximately 5,400 litres of used cooking oil are collected from 12 restaurants and residences near the river. Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the governorates of Musandam and Dhofar, coastal areas of the Sea of Oman and parts of the Hajar Mountains, with chances of scattered rainfall. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with chances of clouds over the coastal areas of the Arabian Sea. Winds will be northerly to northeasterly, light to moderate. Seas will be rough with a maximum wave height of 3 to 3.5 metres. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. On behalf of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Highness Said Fahad bin Mahmoud Al Saeed shall lead the Sultanate's delegation to the 38th Summit of the Leaders of Gulf Cooperation Council countries in Kuwait. The foreign ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries hold a preparatory meeting in Kuwait ahead of the 38th GCC summit. And The UN calls for a ceasefire in Yemen in light of an ongoing humanitarian crisis. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.